Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian. Welcome back to Europa Universalis 5 as we're playing as England. So we're going to be continuing our war against France in today's episode. Finishing up this siege here, and then we're going to march over here and start the siege of that fortification. We're in spring, so a good time to start a siege, and hopefully the French don't send any of their armies after us. We only know where their one army is currently. Well, perhaps not. I don't know if we destroyed all their armies or if they didn't raise them all up, because as of right now, this is the only French army. Now, there are still all those troops that their vassals have, so it's certainly not the only armies that we could potentially face. Yeah, I'm curious, because we killed a lot. We killed 40,000. I guess that might have been all French troops. I was thinking that some of those belonged to their vassals, but maybe not. And you know, we're going to stop here just in case. That is kind of a long journey. Make sure we don't run out of any supply here. Another thing I wanted to do with all of our armies is, because we are pretty short on manpower, we don't have a lot of it. We're going to take that regular unit that we have, which currently has 0 men. So we should have let them restore their numbers, like over here in our main territory. We're going to put them in the reserves, so that if we engage in any battles, they're less likely to fight. Okay, so now they ran out of food. So I expected that to happen with that big old journey. You might have seen me do this in the last episode, but one way I find this to be a little bit quicker to get them to restore their food is to have the fleet leave. I don't know if they're like restoring the food, but it seems to happen immediately. As soon as you leave, and then you can just go back in. So hopefully we can make it over here, because now we're once again having problems supplying our troops with food while they travel on the ships. Yeah, they just can't make it. I was a little surprised we didn't have that issue last time. Maybe it was because it was such a low size army. You know, only had the 20,000 there. And so perhaps it's just the 38,000 of the Royal Army that's just too many, you know, to supply all the way over here. So the French army did leave. They saw us coming apparently. And we can go ahead and siege this down real quick. They seem to pay attention to such things, like where your armies are moving. Now, I did notice that the French did just raise up another army, so they now have 25,000. So they got some more levies. Don't know where those are at, but I feel like while we have our main army in Aquitaine, let's like take out anybody we see over here. This is an event regarding an artist, the Master Mason Henry Yeville specifically. So we can introduce him to the elite and he'll become prominent. So the direct impact of art will increase by 25%. So that's an artist trait that he'll have. This is the historical option as well. Or we say let him find his own way. He'll seek employment elsewhere and we'll gain some prestige. So again, we haven't really taken a look at the artist system at all. So again, this is the culture tab, and you'll find all of our current works of art. So we have like the Stonehenge. You can see the art quality, which impacts how much prestige and cultural tradition it can provide, what type of art it is, when it was created, and the origin of it. So this is all of our current art. And when you hover over this, you can see what bonuses you're getting. So cultural tradition, some bonuses for the pops, institution growth, and the quality of the art also has some effects on it. Since this one is only locally known, we're not really getting any bonuses from it. But with the renowned in area, you're getting a little bit of cultural tradition and monthly prestige. So you can see that we have one artist. This is just this character here who we can hire. He's free to hire. These are the different options you can do. You can ennoble him. That moves you towards aristocracy, but also pisses off your lords. And he'll join the nobility estate and found a new dynasty. You can basically do that with most commoner characters. But the artists are a unique character type. You see that they can have ruler traits and, you know, same type of traits other characters can have, but they also have their own unique traits. So he's meticulous, so his quality of art will be increased. And then they have their own little stats over here. Artistic skill, and it shows what art they have created. And then this is the progress of the art that they're currently working on. You know, here it just says that the artist is available and ready to craft a work of art by a commission. So we could go ahead and hire him because he's free. Why not? I mean, the extra prestige would be helpful too, but if we were to go back to him, we could commission some art from him. We'd lose prestige, but he'll start a work of art, and it's very expensive. So you saw the bonuses you get. I mean, it's helpful, but for the amount of money you're spending, I mean, there are buildings that you could construct like 2, maybe 3 of them for that price, and the benefits they would give you, like cultural buildings, I mean, the benefits they would give you would far outweigh those ones. So we're finding all those vassal armies here. So we're gonna get all these wiped out. So that was like 700 something. There's 1400 we just took out, and then we also know that there's an army over here. We got to do this weird wraparound because of the fortification. Yeah, just take out some of these troops. Might as well. Still doing the siege up here. But yeah, it is unfortunate that they can't just keep on raising the levies up. So, you know, as you're destroying their armies, you know, eventually they're just going to raise them up again. And that's why you do have to eventually do these sieges here. Oh, did they leave? Yeah, they left. So now we're doing a siege. Might as well finish it just because we're here, I guess. But yeah, we'll go and take this. It only took us 12 days. And then we're going to march. You know what? Let's take out those guys. This is a larger army. So I'll get them wiped out. We'll be crossing a river, so get a little penalty, but obviously vastly outnumber them, so we'll be able to wipe them out immediately. Yeah, you know what? We can take this. So with that siege completed, this location will flip over to us, and we're going to wipe out all these little armies. As it helps. I mean, it's not getting us much when it comes to war score, but we're killing Frenchmen. And that's what matters. That's what we're here for, right? And we're trying to be their king, honestly, so don't really actually want to kill them. And the professional armies has actually spawned in Constantinople. Well, that's interesting. You don't generally see that. Usually it spawns in Paris, sometimes elsewhere, but I can't say that I have ever seen it spawn in Constantinople. So we were attacked here, unfortunately. I was worried about that. Now, what they should do is march their army over here. That would be wise. Because right now, we have the numbers over them. However, this is that same commander that we already fought once. You know, he has that 72 military skill. And this time, and this is that same army that he fought. And this time, we don't get the bonus to the dice. So this might be a loss, because he's got the discipline bonus. We have the military tactics, and we have the morale. But again, that just results in them retreating. But right now, things are looking pretty good. We've taken a lot less casualties than they have, and I think that's largely due to the die roll here. Let's go ahead and dip over, just see what's going on here. We destroyed that army. We don't want to take this location, because it'll just be flipped again. I thought there was another army floating around somewhere, but apparently not. Let's just go ahead and start taking over some of these province capitals. That's within this province here, so it'll flip over these two, though there is the fort there. I'm not sure what the effect there would be, but we're going to take that one over. Let's take a look. We'd also take that one. So that'll take over this region here. And then this one. And that's probably it. Just kind of take these regions over. This will give the French something to do. They'll send armies to take it back, I guess. And they'll do that rather than doing sieges, just while we're in the region. Because we're going to be sending the Royal Army back over to here. Because honestly, situation isn't pretty over here. We could be easily outnumbered if they were just being smarter. But hopefully we'll still be able to finish up the siege. You know, we got to get the victory here, which it does look like we will. We've killed a lot more of them than they have of us. So, I mean, it's better than the last time these two guys fought. You know, we just hit 2,000 casualties here. They're a little over 3,000. So it is going much better. Most of them have fled at this point. Yeah, things are going better. There we go. So still not the ratio we'd like to see here, but not too bad, guys. And we're able to defeat them, and we'll be able to continue the siege, and it's looking pretty good. We're getting that progressed. Let's go back over to the Royal Army here. Yeah, I assume all these little armies will probably just take these regions back. I wanted to get them wiped out so they couldn't do that. We might just send the Royal Army back. Now we're going to put these guys into the reserve. Again, just so that when we do battle, they're less likely to fight, to preserve our manpower, since we don't have a lot of that. And smallpox has hit London, so we lost a little bit of prosperity there. But yeah, there might not be any reason to grab these, because they can just quickly take them back with just little tiny armies. I was thinking to keep the French busy, but it's not gonna, because their vassals will just do all this. We'll wipe those guys out real quick before we leave. 21,000, that's not good. They should attack us here to stop us from taking this location. That would be far smarter, but that's not what they're doing. Okay, so let's hurry up and get the Royal Army back home. Because, as I feared, this army is just not strong enough. I mean, we won the one battle, that's what matters. A water shortage there. So we are progressing it. We have a corrupt advisor, and of course, it's Sir Thomas. Again, I told you guys we'd have all kind of events about the head of the cabinet. Notice all these events are negative. So we can expose these lies and prepare an execution. We'll kill him, lose prestige. Instead, we can just retire him, or we can reprimand him, and we'll lose legitimacy. We're going to have to lose the legitimacy, because remember, we're getting a lot of crown power from him. But overall, that's kind of the negative with having them, is that you get all of these events. So remember, we're going to have to stop off here, because otherwise we will run out of food. I mean, we'll probably run out of food before we even get there. Yeah. Little notification there, down to half food at this point. So hopefully they'll be alright. Yeah, down to 12.6% food. So we'll do that same tactic. Move out, give them the food again, and then load these guys up. And then we're going to bring them back over here. Or maybe we should put them into this location, because we're going to be attacking them. Although we won't get any defensive bonus, unfortunately, by attacking this fort. We can't let them take our hard-earned gains here. So we'll go and attack them. Should be an easy victory, almost 2 times the number. And of course, this is our king, so he's much better, and their commander's not great. The captain here only has the 42 military. You know what? He's actually pretty good for sieges, because he has the higher administrative skill, which is going to result in them having the lower discipline, though honestly the discipline is kind of decent at 16.3% despite his lower skills there. And of course the Royal Army was not getting food. But yeah, this battle should be fairly easy here, although they're actually doing alright. I think it's because of the large number of cavalry they have, and that's just part of fighting the French. Because all those horsemen they have, they do a lot of damage. Now, as we get to this point, we're flanking them, we'll see the casualties get a lot worse for the French. And thus, we ended up taking 3,300 casualties while they took 5,400. And we killed 1,000 of their knights. And I'm going to attempt something. Somebody asked me to do it in the comments. I've had trouble with this in the past, trying to get our vassals to attach to our army. So it is possible to do that. So you'll see an icon here, attachments not allowed. If you click that, it'll say they are allowed. However, doing that is usually not enough, or I haven't seen it been enough. You actually have to tell them to support you, but even then, they don't usually attach. We'll have to bring our army like right over to them, and then maybe, I'm willing to test it, because that's a lot of troops sitting over there not doing anything, guys. So if we could get all of our vassal troops here to join our army, I think it'd be worth it. So we're going to attempt to do this now. We'll bring them on over there, and you know what, let's go ahead and set them up before we even get there. So remember, we want to go into the manage subjects, and then rather than having them on defensive, we'll set them to supportive. So the idea here is that they'll attempt to attach to your armies. Now this worked really nicely, and we're going to tell all our vassals to do that, because I'm fine with Aquitaine doing it as well. This worked really nicely in EU4. They'd pretty much always go to your army and then attach. But I've had trouble with it in this one. Especially here as England, vassals just don't seem to want to do anything. So now they're all like attaching together. So maybe, let's see if they'll stomp on over here. And it looks like the Bank of Abruzzi has taken over one of our loans. So let's see if they'll all come over here. At least a few of them are. We also just finished up the research of universal Christianity, giving us the extra diplomat. So before I forget, because you know I will, let's go and cut our spending down. We won't need as much going towards that. So that's one of the benefits of getting this. And let's take a look at the new advancements tree. Thomas Percy has also come of age. So this is the Age of Renaissance tree. Many of these branches we can't get until we have their respective institutions. So Renaissance, banking, and professional armies. And of course, this is where they spawned Venice. And of course, we just saw that professional armies spawned in Constantinople. The Renaissance has not spawned anywhere, so that's the banking that has spawned in Venice. And here's the professional armies. So these are all the branches that we won't be able to get until they spread to our territory and we embrace them, which there is a cost associated with that. So let's get this first one here, which it does actually reduce the cost to embrace institutions by 10%. And then we have two different routes we can go. So improving relations, loyalty of subjects, and then this is your army tree, and here's your naval branch. I suppose it gives some other bonuses here with the prosperity recovery, all kinds of good stuff here. So it's not just the naval branch, but you do have to get at least the medieval sailing. Some nice bonuses here, improving our noble state satisfaction, or there's this branch. So this would reduce the cost to grant any privileges, not something that we're going to be doing anytime soon. Increasing the maximum size of RGOs. Not a problem yet, but eventually it does become a problem. The war with no CB cost, that's useful. Food production's always helpful. A lot of good bonuses here, but probably not going to be our first route, despite some pretty good stuff here, like the city rights and founding town costs. That's pretty helpful because it's actually really expensive to make cities. That's far down this tree. I think it'd be better to go down this route first, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the improved relations, the loyalty of subjects, and then we'll work on the army morale. Yeah, let's get all the army ones. We might change that up if we're no longer at war with France, which I assume we wouldn't be at that point. We'll just pay attention to where we're at and see if we want to get those. So we're still waiting for. Oh, they might not attach to us. I don't think everybody's quite attached. We'll give it a day or so. Let's hop over to the Royal Army because we're being sieged again. So we're going to send our troops over there to take care of that. And the one thing I didn't do is refill the garrison because it wasn't an option. The Second Army didn't have any troops in that one regular army unit. So we're going to do that after we finish up with this battle. Hopefully they don't take any damage here. So we can put a full 100 in there. We did get some troops. So like not even 300 dudes there and less than 600 here. Not really enough to warrant coming over here, honestly. So I'm going to take them out and see if we can't get some more to attach. Those guys are coming. Because, yeah, I just don't feel like that was enough for the effort. I mean, I was willing to try no matter what. But, like I said, I've been having issues with it. With getting them to attach reliably. So we did destroy 3,600 dudes, losing 1,100 our own. That's not a bad rate there. So let's go ahead and refill the garrison here so they can't just assault it easily. But yeah, manpower does become an issue, guys. And we're going to go wipe out these 366. I feel like they're like taunting me, just sitting there. They sieging down here yet? They're just taking back the territory that we'd sieged while we were over there. So yeah, they just won't attach, guys. We got the two armies there and the rest aren't interested. We could keep them there until the end of the month to see if like the AI will reevaluate and then attach. But probably not. We're just gonna have to leave. And we still got a little under 1,000 men to come assist us. Again, I don't think it was worth the trip when we could have been doing a siege. So clearly they're not going to attach. So it's what I expected. There's not really any way to force them to join up with our army. They're just going to sit over here, which is a shame. Maybe we could send the fleet back and see if they'll get into the ships, and then I can bring them over here. Oh, are they trying to intercept us? Well, that's interesting. Look at them being all aggressive. Yeah, they must be set to intercept our armies. Or excuse me, intercept our fleets. Okay, well that's fine. We'll battle it out with them. They're not going to win it. And they came back. They are very tenacious. They're determined to take this location. Well, that's absolutely fine. We will wipe out their troops. That's what we want anyways. And we're not losing many of our own doing it. Alright, so that worked out fantastically. And the other army is on their way. We were able to win, but we did lose. Well, it says we lost several ships. Looks like we only lost, I think, one. And we have like 54 ships. So we finally have enough money to do something I've been wanting to do. So I was originally saying I was going to save this up in order to request a war entry. Which you can see that this is pretty expensive now. However, this is only something you can do if England is the defender. And obviously in this conflict, we're the attacker. So this is an option for when you get attacked, while this one here is the option for when you're doing the attacking. And so instead, I've been saving up to make our first city. So we're going to go to the population mode and kind of just look at your locations and see where you got the most population. Because I personally think it makes sense to have your highly populous areas made into cities. You have more population to work the buildings. Obviously, there are penalties to making location cities, and we'll look at that in a minute. But many of these are actually already cities. So this one here is a town. This one is not a city with 56, almost 57,000. This one's a town. And so basically, if you're just looking at this one province, this is the same one where we've been increasing control, actually. And we're probably going to switch him to doing something else because our stability is still pretty low. And there's a lot of different things you got to use stability for. So we're going to switch him up here in a minute. Basically, we have these three options if we wanted to do it in this province, which is a good one because it's a highly populated province. So we have these three. And one thing you want to consider is which RGO they have. So wool, sturdy grains, or fish. We're actually short on sturdy grains in our market. So probably wouldn't be good to make this into a town because you get a bonus here from being a rural settlement, increasing the maximum RGO size. Now, obviously, we're not taking advantage of that yet, but in the future, we might. So those are the benefits that you get from a rural settlement. And these are what you're going to get from a town. So obviously, a lot more bonuses, but also some penalties. Local food production will be brought down, and the speed of integration. This obviously isn't going to be an issue because it's already integrated territory. But yeah, you get a lot of bonuses. Local population capacity, max control, more buildings, more possible jobs here. So we're going to be switching this one, Yarmouth. It's a fish RGO, and they have a pretty high population at almost 57,000. So I think it's a good location to make into a town and get all those benefits. So let's go and switch it up. It does require certain goods, glass, masonry, and lumber. And it's very expensive, so that's why we had to save up in order to do this. So we're turning that into a town. Now cities are even more expensive. We just took a look at one of these locations. It's already a town, and you can see that it's going to cost 1,787 in order to make that into a city. So very expensive. All right, so we're sieging down this location and this one. This one actually has the fortification. And then next we can go to Paris. The last institution of the Renaissance age has appeared in Italy, and that is the Renaissance institution. So it was the last one to appear. So this is something we haven't talked about yet, and that's supply limit. So you see that the supply limit in this location is 26.97, so almost 27, while our unit weight for the Royal Army is 33.56. So we are over the supply limit, and thus, if we were to hover over our food, you can see that we're eating a lot more food, plus 48.84%, because of being over that supply limit. So that's one of the issues with stomping around with a larger army. And of course, once you run out of food, then you'll start taking attrition. And so our food is depleting at the moment. And so we're going to need to move somewhere that can support us, which doesn't appear to be anywhere. We can always feed them with the fleet, of course. But it would be better if we didn't have to worry about that. So we could always take a couple thousand out. You can also see right there, another thing we didn't talk about, is that you loot any locations that your army moves through that aren't, your locations. Been trying to get some trade here that would stick, but none of these do. Pretty much all of them. I've already tried these top two here. Pretty much all of them end unfortunately, on the first month after we make them. So we can bring our fleet out to make sure that they get the supply back. We still got to keep them in port here because we need to get them fully repaired. But just having them out here would be enough to keep the army supplied. And it seems that John is gregarious. Okay, so we're going to change his education up to diplomatic. Really focus in on that, since clearly that's what he's going to be best at. Though right now it's actually his lowest skill. Looks like he could have been a military leader. I mean, even having high diplomacy, if his martial skill is all right, he could still be a good general, because that'll increase the morale. So I started to siege down St. Quentin, since this is a province capital. So it's going to flip over all these provinces here. And then they just kind of slip through here, the 7,000, so we got to go attack them. Get them wiped out. I don't know why they keep sending them in here. I guess it's like all they got. They also took all this back over. It distracted them for a while, so I mean, it had its effect. So we wiped out 2,000 troops there, and they'll retreat, and then we'll have to fight them again when they get back. Let me just take a look at what the French currently have. Is that it? That and like a couple thousand somewhere else? So the majority of the troops that we're fighting are their vassals who just aren't doing anything, stay on the defensive. Again, vassals just, I don't know, they're just not as useful as you'd hope they'd be. But maybe none of them are loyal to the French king. Maybe that's how we'll explain that. So they don't want to help out in this war. So almost the entire French army, because that's really just about all they got left, is coming over here to attack us, which is kind of strange, because this will result in them having the river penalty. And they're vastly outnumbered, so I don't know why they're bothering to attack us there, but they are. I came over to destroy these guys right here, these 135, but oh, they disappeared, hiding in the forest. But we can do our second parliament, and I prefer to do it in London because by doing it in the capital, you increase your centralization. So a nice benefit of doing that. We could attempt to pass another law to change one of our laws, but the only one I could see changing is that English Parliament one. And I kind of want to get this one. While Edward's still somewhat young, he was only 31 years old, and I love increasing the skills of my kings. It only gives us 3 points in each, but still, I mean, he's not just our king, he's also our primary general, so this is going to be pretty helpful if we can get it passed. And also, while the issue is being debated, we get more crown power. But we're going to have to give something up if we want to get this passed, because we just don't have enough support here with only our crown power at 22.04%. So we'd have to give the nobles what they want, because you're just not going to get enough from the clergy or from the burghers, which I'm actually fine with doing both of these two. But again, it's just not enough support, and I don't know what the next agendas are going to be. This one gets you a monastery for fairly cheap, and monasteries aren't terrible because it'll increase the max literacy for the clergy. It does increase their food consumption, but for this price here, it's really not bad. So I'm actually willing to do that, even though it's not going to get us where we want. We take a look at the other choices here. This is going to piss the peasants off. I mean, it's pissing the lords off too. They're already mad because I did one of the agendas from the clergy, but this gets rid of the local assembly, which largely isn't beneficial to us. So it could do that one. With this one, and you're still not going to be high enough. All you're doing is pissing the lords off. So I feel like you're going to have to contain professional armies. There's just no way around it, guys. So I don't like losing progress. I don't even know where our progress is right now. And we could support more of these agendas in order to get more things passed, you know, ask for a law change or something, but we piss everybody off doing that because it doesn't please anybody when you do these agendas, because what you're getting from them is parliament support. All it does is irritate the other states. So that's good to go. That'll get it passed. That's what we want. We're gonna do this battle here, and again, they're gonna get the penalty from crossing the river. And so another nice easy battle where we get to wipe out a bunch of French troops. 2,200, losing 366 of our own. And then just because I want to, we're gonna wipe out those 135 dudes as well. And the French are coming back, so let's go over here. And well, it looks like they would get the bonuses. Why even do that? It was not necessary. I know that we'd vastly outnumber. Why take the penalties when we know that they're willing to attack us? we've seen them do it before. Oh, they're just going to attack us here. So we'll just stay here. And that way we'll get the train bonuses. Yeah, I just don't see any reason to take unnecessary casualties. So force them to retreat again. They're just throwing away manpower at this point. I don't know why they keep coming. 66,000 dead already. We lost 20,000. So 3 Frenchmen have died for every Englishman. Of course, the Navy here looks a little bit more disproportionate because they destroyed the fleets of our vassals. We're almost done with the siege as well. So we'll have that done soon. Yeah, just finished that up. Excellent. So that's going to flip all the locations over here. And next, we're going to Paris, guys. So we'll start moving there. We're going to go ahead and shadow them with our main army as well. I've been walking around seizing control of locations. Oh, wait a minute. Let's not go there just yet. Okay, so what we're going to do is just throw all our armies into these attacks just to... No, we don't even need to do that. Just to make sure we have, you know, as many troops as we can can wipe them out as easy as possible. There's 13,000 currently protecting Paris. And then go ahead and take all of our troops and send them over here to Paris to engage against the 13,000, which is the biggest army we've faced in a while. But obviously we vastly outnumber them. But we forced them to retreat so quick we didn't really kill very many of them, unfortunately. I'm not sure what these guys are doing. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, so they wrapped around here. Maybe I selected to have them chase that army rather than attack in Paris. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, we didn't engage that full army there. Alright, so we lost 662, killing 3,600. So finishing up a battle here against the French. Wiped out 800 dudes. So I currently have King Edward doing the siege of Paris. Because, first of all, he's better at it. And it makes sense that he'd want to take Paris over. We'll wipe out these 2,800, and if we have the men, we got 44 right now. I'd like to add some men to this fortification because we only have 10 to this garrison. And our parliament has agreed to support the state, and thus King Edward's going to get 3 points in all of his skills. And now his skills are 83, 69, and 88, and that's the bonuses we're getting as a ruler, and again as the general here. So we have enough money to go ahead and pay off our debts. So let's repay all possible loans so that we no longer have to pay the interest. So that's going to Florence, and that's going to the bank. So we won't have to pay the interest anymore, and it also isn't going to hurt our crown power. We're at 24%, so it has dropped a bit. We used to be a bit higher than that. I also finally remembered to set our cabinet member to stabilize the country. Still got 2,000 dudes stomping around. I've tried to get our manpower back up over here. So we'll attack him if he tries to siege any of our locations. But otherwise, we're going to stand here and try and get more. He did go over here, didn't he? Alright, so we'll have to go over there. They only do it at the end of the month, so if we can make back to our territory by then. But one of the benefits of us finally taking Paris is you'll see that our war score is actually going down. That's from the defender ticking penalty that we get, or bonus that they get. So 18% currently. We're not going to make it back in time. We'll be able to attack those guys again, though. I think it's just that army of 0 dudes, though. I don't know why the Normans keep wanting to invade us. Thought we finished with all that. So that's just going to increase the imperial authority. This is another one of those papal rules. But yeah, we'll loot all the way through here. So at least we'll get a little extra money as we pass through that territory. It's also making it a lot worse. I don't know how much of this we'll be able to take in the peace treaty. But that does mean that their prosperity is going to be down from us looting. Another army stomping around over here. I really want to stay here and get the manpower. Get it up to 50 dudes. We do have a bit of manpower in this army, in the Royal Army, to add to Paris once we finish up with that siege. But basically, as soon as we take Paris, that 18.5% will be removed. And we're going to get the war score from taking Paris. We just got into May, so let's go ahead and do these attacks. Take out that 3,700 troops. This army is getting a lot lower. They're down to 14,000. But basically, finishing this siege up is going to add a lot of war score on there. Unfortunately, they were able to take that location, so we'll have to retake it. But look at that, guys. We just finished up the siege of Paris. This here hasn't updated just yet. At least I think that was our war goal. Usually that is for the 100 Years' War, is to take the capital. Let's go and refill the garrisons. I was going to add them 66 dudes, get them up to 76 total. And then let's go and take out these troops over here. Okay, all these locations will be added. And we're just not killing a lot in these battles, unfortunately. But we're taking the sieges, and that's what matters. We did get an event here, a prospering monastery. So we can have King Edward visit it for legitimacy, or instead increase the prosperity of York. You know what? Let's increase the prosperity there. Prosperity is pretty useful, guys. To get the actual bonuses, we'd have to take a look at one of our locations, which we haven't done that yet. But there's a bunch of really important values here. So the first is development. So that represents how cultivated the land is and how much of it is used by pops living there. And these are the bonuses that you get. Then there's prosperity. We lost a bunch of it because of that smallpox event. And so we're getting penalties here because of the prosperity. We could actually help recover the location, and that would improve a lot of these stats here for us. That's how much art is there. The spread of the institutions. Renaissance and banking hasn't even started, but professional armies is already here. And then of course we have the ones that we started with. And then all their other stats here. So yeah, if we wanted to, what we could do is change this character up. Actually, his diplomacy isn't great. It would be better to change this character. But you know what? I want to keep him on strengthening the government, and his diplomacy isn't terrible. So yeah, we'll have him do the recovery effort to help London recover, so we're not getting those penalties anymore. Now you can't increase prosperity with that. You can just recover from any negative prosperity. Well, Thomas might be somebody we want to turn into one of our military professionals. Yeah, we'll give him a military education. Always could use more generals and just skilled commanders. Let's focus on taking these two locations over. So we'll siege both of these down. And then we'll see where the war score stands at that point. Maybe we'll march around and take these locations back, wipe out a few armies, and then we'll end the conflict. It won't be quite at 100%. But the Black Plague is going to be happening soon. In fact, we need to get some hospitals built. We've been so busy doing other things that we have not done any hospitals. So we're going to take higher casualties than we normally would. Oh, they're doing a parliament here. So if you occupy the location, then that will interfere with it. However, we won't have this taken yet. So now we'll go after those 1,800 troops up to 60%. So now we're getting the attacking war score ticking up. So things are going in our favor now. And unfortunately, our daughter Mary is a bit slow. So that's a shame. And we haven't finished that up. Again, it doesn't take very long. But that means we need to assign him to continue stabilizing our country. Stability is getting better though. Not too bad. So we'll re-siege that location down. We're up to 60% now. We'll see what happens after the siege. There is another location over here that we should take. So we'll do that as soon as we're done with that occupation. And let's go in and get our first hospital constructed. Again, we should have been working on this already. So each one of these is going to cost us 155. So we'll try and get as many of them as we can. They take a year. And even when the Black Plague starts, you know, it's not going to come to England immediately. And so we'll want to get, you know, our most populated cities. We can't build them everywhere, obviously. It's too expensive and just not worth doing. But we'll try and get our more populated cities. You know, get them some hospitals to hopefully protect them against the plague. So let's go ahead and destroy these fleets over here. So we got the fleet that's currently blockading, but yeah, we'll take out these ships here. They're attempting to relieve Paris. Just 521 dudes though. You know, one thing we could do is a separate peace treaty with Artois. And that would allow us to burn off some of the antagonism while we finish up this war. So let's do a separate peace with them. And I'm not entirely sure how much we're going to want to take from them. I mean, we could probably take everything. Yeah, we could take all that. It'd look kind of weird if we weren't able to take this over, though. And it does result in a ton of antagonism. So unless we're able to get all this territory from the French, which we might be able to. You know what, I kind of just say let's do it. And then also take all their money too. They won't exist after this, so there's not any reason to attempt to do any of these other deals. But as far as the antagonism, it's not really anybody I'm concerned about that's gaining it. I guess there's the Hanseatic League, but I'm not truly concerned about them. So you know what, let's do this. So we'll do that peace treaty, and so now all this territory here is ours. Oh, we still have to take that from the French, or it'd result in a really weird situation here. So yeah, this is all ours now. Now, this all belongs to France. All the rest of the territory we have, so that's the only country we can do the separate peace treaty with. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe some of these other countries might be willing to do like a white peace. And we did take over Dunkirk, and so the fleet has been pushed out. I think there's like one ship over here, so we could attack that location and push them out. Let me take a look and see how badly our ships were damaged. Not too bad. So we'll attack here. Oh, we'll just be pushing that same fleet out. The one ship is actually over here, which we cannot go to that location without taking over this fort, which I think is what we're going to do next. So the siege is finished up, so that's going to push the fleet back out, and they'll have to fight us again. Alright, so we're going to go after this fortification next, so we can try and get a peace treaty with Flanders, I suppose, because we're starting to wrap this war up, guys. I'm ready to end it. And do these guys need to repair? Yeah, we'll send them to repair here in Calais. And then we'll bring them out next month. So we have another son. We, of course, already have a John. So our next son is going to be named Edmund. Excellent. So, a lot of kids, just as Edward III had historically. Alright, so we're starting up that siege. This one here is almost done. 12,000 troops. Well, that's not good. Because they might be going after... No. They're just going to do this siege over here. We got an event here about the closure of alien priories. In the face of continued hostilities with the Kingdom of France, King Edward has decided to close all the alien priories in England. Every aforementioned monastery was under the control of the French religious houses, and their continued existence is seen as a threat to the security of the realm. The priors and monks who serve these houses will be expelled, and the priories themselves are to be dissolved. With the revenues from these priories no longer flowing to France, there is an opportunity to redirect them to support English religious houses. Alternatively, these revenues could be seized by the crown, helping to fund the ongoing war effort. So the historical option is to seize it for the crown. That'll grant us 167 ducats. Whichever option we do, this does result in France losing spy network. And spy network is actually pretty helpful when it comes to sieges. There's a few other things it does as well, but that's one reason why I haven't been using our spy network. I want it to be as high as possible because it makes the sieges easier, so we can progress those a bit quicker. But there are things that we could do with those if we wanted to. So looking at the covert actions, we could sabotage their reputation. That will decrease opinion with any country that we want. We can pick one country to decrease opinion with the French. Or we could sow discontent. I really don't like these monthly ones because they're incredibly expensive. 69.29. This is based on your income, so it's never not really expensive. It just doesn't feel like the benefits, like granting them reduced stability investment, is worth the cost. And there are other ones like that as well, such as the corrupt officials. This will result in them getting a penalty to their cabinet efficiency. But again, for 69.29, that's ridiculous. So I just don't feel like those type ones, those type of covert actions are worth it. This one can be helpful if you're trying to cause problems between two countries, though. But yeah, we're not going to use any of these at the moment, guys, because we want our spy network to be at its maximum. So all of these will reduce the French spy network, If we go with the historical option, the clergy are going to be irritated at us. So we just looked at their current satisfaction. It's pretty good at 68.52%. And the money would be helpful. Or we could say our hospitals are in need. This will make the commoners happy and move us towards communalism. Or we could say it must befall the clergy and they'll be happier, which is always great, again, for that nice monthly research progress. But it does result in them getting that money instead of us. And so you gotta look at what are they going to use that money for. So they want to build a spiritual retreat, and that will increase their power and their food consumption. So overall, not a good thing. Probably not worth it. I think we'll just seize the money for ourselves. We're going with the historical option here, guys. And that will allow us to invest it back into our country, of course, because we're such a great and just king. We're going to be building more hospitals. And you can't build these in rural settlements, so you couldn't build them everywhere, even if you wanted to. Of course, you don't need to put them there. You want them in places that have high population. Let's put it in Norwich. And yeah, I'll put it in Lynn as well. I think these are, could be wrong here. Let me just double check. I think these are our two most populated locations, like even more than London. Yeah. So we'll place it in those two locations. And that's 2 more hospitals we got constructing before the plague hits us. Again, we'll get as many as we can. And they're going to siege this location next. Makes sense. That's another one of those capital locations. Province capitals. I really hope they don't attack us there, which they might be planning on doing. We might have to leave, guys, with the assumption that they're going to go after us. Oh, maybe not. Okay, well, too late. We weren't that far on that siege anyways. We need to get that army destroyed, but we got to finish up this siege first. I guess we'll take the hit to the burger's satisfaction. Hopefully this will be done soon. There we go, beautiful. Alright, so now we need to retake all that territory that they conquered while we were busy. So we'll go and wipe out those guys. And this location we don't need to worry about. We're going to take over this one. Now we're going to attack this army of 15,000. And one benefit of having the second army back in our own territory, which I guess they can move over here, is that we can get some manpower in order to refill the garrison here, which just has the 10 dudes. So I think that should result in them having 100 that they can place into the garrison. Yeah, so we'll go and refill that, though we might not really need to. And I guess we'll wipe out those 1,300 troops as well. And Sir John, our cousin, has come of age. So we need to arrange a marriage for him. Unfortunately, there are no potential foreign marriages, but I'm sure we can find somebody here in the country. I suppose we'll marry him to a Percy. She's only 20 years old. So she's a good fit. So we're going to take over all these provincial capitals again. All the ones that we lost while we were doing those sieges, and they just kind of took advantage of that opportunity. So we'll retake all these locations just to increase our war score. And I suppose we'll start working on these forts again. We'll go on this, go and take this next one. And also, let's do one more separate piece here. Take this territory over. This is all they have. We can also get any money they might be willing to give us, 16.5. Alright, so looking good. Taking over a little bit more territory here, though of course we are pissing people off with the antagonism, though honestly it seems like it's not really anybody we're too concerned about. Yeah, I feel like we gotta have one army all the time, stomping around. Yes, I do like saying stomping around a lot. Going through our territory here to make sure that they're not able to take back all these unfortified locations. So Edward, the Black Prince, or Edward the Black, has come of age, and not as impressive as you'd hope for. Now you notice that he is already getting ruler traits here, and that's because he's immediately given territory. He is made the Earl of Chester, and so he is now one of our subjects. He's ruling this territory right here. So this was already one of our subjects, but we were the king of it. You know, Edward was the king of that subject. And so now our son has that. And that's kind of interesting because it allows him to start working on his traits. But the negative is you can't use him as a commander. Not that he's any good anyways. He never turns out great. I have trouble creating decent characters. Even when you invest in them heavily, unless they have that one trait like genius or brilliance or something like that, they generally don't get very high skills. It's usually pretty average even when you invest in them. And I suppose that's to keep things balanced so you don't always have great heirs and great monarchs. I really wish that Edward had something special or whatever, so that he was better. But then I guess you could also argue that there should be some type of event that results in him dying from dysentery, which I wouldn't like that either. Another one of the negatives here is that we can't arrange the marriage for him because he's his own ruler. So he's probably going to marry some like really old woman that we're going to try and get a divorce from, if we end up playing as him, of course. But you never know what might end up happening. So we're attacking these guys here. And we lost 1,500, but they lost 3,100. Let's go and take out the 2,000 troops that are over in this area. So this army is getting smaller and smaller. And I suppose we're going to take over that location. Anything to get to war score. We're currently at 69%. I'd really like to wait to end the conflict until we're able to get to the 100% war score. Suppose there's this army to take care of. So go attack them at 500 dudes and we'll have to re-siege that location. Yeah, I'd like to get to the full 100% war score so we can get as much as possible from the French. I don't think they have any troops, guys, because they're not even doing anything over here. Well, let me take that back. They must be raising them up again. Yeah, they're still at 65,000. We've killed 80,000 of them. So they just keep raising their troops up. But we haven't taken that many casualties ourselves. So doing pretty good on that front. And I guess we'll go back to doing the blockade over here against Flanders. They'll give us a few points and it hurts their economy. And it has begun. The Black Death has appeared. Alright, so that's going to be heading our way. I would like to get this conflict done soon. We'll see if that was not enough. So we got to continue that siege. We do have enough money though to construct another hospital. However, it looks like we're running low on books. We should still be able to construct one more. Could put it in York. I think the population in Lincoln's higher though. I'll double check that. That's really what matters, because you're trying to save as many as possible. Since if you look at what the effects here, it's a 10% disease resistance to that specific location. So we'll get that constructed, but clearly we've got to do something about the lack of books. It might be up here at the top because they're so short, but often it's not. And of course, London's the most profitable location, so we're going to get it constructed there. And I guess we can do another one. Yeah, I'll put them in 2 different places. Kind of spread out the economy a little bit. Yeah, we always need books, even if it's not very profitable. You just need them for a lot of different buildings that are important. So we're going to wipe these guys out, but we cannot save Paris until we get our primary army, the Royal Army, back. So I'm just trying to move around. That's what I've been doing, guys, is just move around, taking out any enemy armies that we find. Of course, we're looting as we move through all this territory as well. We're going to take those guys out, and the Royal Army has finally finished up the siege. So let's go ahead and go back to the capital. Take out that one army. I don't think this is updated just yet, but clearly our war score is not to 100% yet. And we're not getting any more from these battles. It's really just the sieges. So we're still just sitting at 73%, almost 74%. So we could attempt to end the war, try and get as much as we can. I mean, if we just took a look at this potential peace treaty, we could probably get a lot. So let's say you wanted to get all this, and you don't have to just take territory. Yeah, like they're agreeing to quite a bit here. So we could take all this over. You're not going to get all the way down to Paris, of course. Maybe you can. Wow, look at that. They're willing to give us all this territory. Now, we're going to get a lot of antagonism. This is enough where we might face a coalition. And you don't have to just take territory over here. There's also the territory over here. But you know, we can give this over to Aquitaine so we don't have to manage it ourselves, because a lot of this territory, whether it's over here, or over here, the control is going to be terrible, so we're not going to get much from it, if anything. In fact, most of this we won't get anything from it. But we're weakening the French, which is what's important. And it's a shame that we can't take over Normandy, you know, which the Plantagenets have a very good claim to, because the Normans are not in the conflict, since we took that one option to make sure they weren't in it. And that did mean we didn't have to fight their 16 to 17,000 troops, but it also means we can't take over any of their territory. So we can get a lot of their provinces right now, because they badly want an end to this conflict. And the reason why is because their stability is low, but really it's all based on the war enthusiasm, which is currently at 11%, so almost as low as it can get. Now, many of their vassals are still willing to fight, not all of them, but after 81,000 casualties, the French really want out of this conflict, so they're willing to give us a lot more because of that. So we don't have to have the 100%. Of course, we could always attempt to take their crown, though this isn't a valid option because we don't control enough of France and it's too much war score at 102.93, so we wouldn't even be able to do it. We could take over their market center. This is a great way to cripple the French, and so that would get moved. I don't know if that's something we want to do, but yeah, it's a great way to cripple their economy. They would not agree to becoming a subject, obviously too expensive there. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff you can do besides just taking over provinces. You could dismantle forts, so you don't have to siege those down later, liberate some of their territory. So that completely frees them. So like Champagne here would be released. They would be willing to agree to that. That's the first time we've seen a huge jump there in their willingness to accept it, but they still would do it. You can have them revoke cores, which they only have the one in Jersey. Maybe that's the reason why they went after that location, which I don't think we ever took that back yet. It's still currently occupied by France. I feel bad for them. We just kind of abandoned them. And then there's all these other treaties, you know, forced war reparations, get money out of them. That's a good amount of money right there. Yeah, a lot of different options. Let me know down in the comments what you guys want to do, because we are going to end the episode here. But I don't want the war to go on too much longer, since we're about to deal with the Black Plague. And luckily we're able to get that one hospital done. So we got several hospitals constructed within our territory, and we have one more in the process. But I'd like to focus on the Black Plague next episode. We'll talk about all these different actions here, what you should do, what you shouldn't do in regards to those. And I assume it will reach our territory in the next video as well. And so I'd like to get this wrapped up, but we could go a little bit longer. If you guys want to fight for some more war score, let me know down in the comments. And if we are going to end it, what do you think we should do? Obviously, we should take more territory. Gotta at least take over this. But I wouldn't mind going all the way to Paris as well, because then you don't have to take the market center because you have it. The market center is in Paris. So if we take a look at the markets, yeah, this is the Paris market, and that could be under our control, because I think they're willing to give us all that. So we could do that, get a ton of antagonism, and potentially have a coalition going against us. Oh, look at Brabant. They're getting more powerful. Could have them release vassals, give territory to Aquitaine. We could also have them give us some of their vassals. So most of them aren't options, but some of them are. That's because we need to occupy their territory if we want to make them our own vassal. That's another option available to us. So let me know down in the comments what you want to do in this peace treaty, when you want to end it, and what you think we should seize control of. And then next episode, we're going to be doing the Black Death. And so we're going to have to deal with losing a significant portion of our population. But yeah, the 100 Years' War went quite well. Looking forward to see what we can get in the peace treaty. This is the current map of everything we know, if you're curious how things are going in the rest of the world. But I hope you guys did enjoy today's episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. I do hope to see you on the next one, and thanks for watching.